What's up, everybody? You are watching and listening to the Glacially Musical Podcast, Beer, Metal, and Swearing. I am not your host, Nick Cameron, who is out sick today, but I am Ghost Cult Keefy of GhostCultMag.com. Glacially Musical is a Ghost Cult joint. I am joined by our co-host, Don DeLamont of Southeast of Heaven and Talking the Talk with Don. Don, how the hell are you?
Dude, it is hump day. I'm doing good. Every day is Wednesday when you're me, man.
Right on. Every day is kind of a Monday most of my life, but it's changing. I have the destiny in my hands. So the departments of the show are the beer or drink check. Then we'll do some vinyl checks. We'll have a little bit of news today, and then the meat. And the meat of this very special Chaser episode in between our reviews of the early albums of Deicide. We have an honored guest today. Dave Krusin, legendary drummer of Pearl Jam from the album 10. He's also had a bunch of other bands, including his stint in Candlebox. We're going to talk to Dave about his collaboration with King Ultramega, which is the Reigning Phoenix Music, Soundgarden, and Chris Cornell tribute. This is kind of a little bit top secret, but by the time this airs, it will be live and out in the world. King Ultramega's brand new single. They're releasing basically a single at a time till they build up to a full album. It's Loud Love by Soundgarden with guests Lizzie Hale on vocals and Dave on drums. So we're going to talk about King Ultramega, we're going to talk about Seattle, we're going to talk about Soundgarden, and hopefully some other stuff with Dave. Now, let's do the drink check. I'm drinking guess what? Liquid Death, no beer. I should have had a beer in honor of Nick not being here, but...
Thirder, you're immersed.
Thirder, you're immersed, murder your thirst. This is Severed Lime, one of my more favorite flavors. I really am developing such a passion for lime seltzer in general. I know lime is like probably the least popular flavor of seltzer, minus like a grapefruit or something, but I am really quite fond of these limes. Don, what are you drinking?
I'm not drinking a liquid meth, but I mean a liquid death. I'm sorry. See, we joke so much about it. I just say I am drinking a Yuengling, which is the last one out of my case, and then I'm
Nice.
gonna do the seriously like
Executioner?
I can't get it.
It won't open.
There we go. Okay.
How fitting that it won't open.
It's the one that needed to open. It's like the cool one. So yes,
Cheers.
Yuengling Lager. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Oh, that's good. Yeah. It's my one
Super
beer a
good.
week, man. It's my one beer a week.
Right
Oh, by the way, my Dollar Tree is now got Liquid Death. I'm
Oh, really?
so excited about it because I want to try some. I've never seen it at our Dollar Tree.
So what you have to look for, personally, I don't like stevia or stevia flavored things. What Dollar Tree is getting rid of the old school stock of Liquid Death. So probably it's the just agave nectar. Personally, the sodas, the soda flavored waters, seltzers are not good. I tried the root beer, it was gross. I tried the Dr. Pepper. So basically, seltzer that tastes like Dr. Pepper, just gross. They did just put out a new Mountain Dew version, which is like a replacement for Mountain Dew. I don't know if it's like yellow and pea colored and syrupy, but certainly supposed to be like super caffeinated like Mountain Dew. And but you might get, and they also have the teas, and the teas also were standard agave nectars that are now agave and stevia, a blend. But yeah, best of luck to you. Go try some out. Maybe you'll show up on the pod with one to cheers with. They are low in sugar or sugar free almost.
Well, one of my friends actually in town, she was telling me, she was like, "Oh, I saw," because she's actually watched a few episodes of the podcast and she always digs it. She's owns a cool little shop here in Myrtle Beach, but she said, "Oh," she goes, "I was at Dollar Tree and I saw that they have Liquid Death," and I'm like, "What flavor?" She's like, "I don't know. It just said Liquid Death," and I said, "I should tell Don." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow and see what it is." But I'm hoping it's gonna be Convicted Melon, because that's the one for some reason sticks in my head.
It's delicious. I have to tell you, it is lovely, whatever it is. I don't know what the melons are. Melon is very vague, just like fish soup. Okay, what fish? I don't know. You don't know. No one knows.
What broth? What broth are you using? I have
what
no
is the
clue.
broth? What is the base?
Just strain it through a sock? I don't know.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, Liquid Death. Good, good on you. Liquid Death is giving away a house where every faucet and shower nozzle in the house sprays Liquid Death. I entered. I doubt I will win. I'm sure the taxes on winning a house is incurable. Not to mention, like, how do I take a bath in Liquid Death? I don't know. How do you make food? I don't know. Bottled water.
Well, I
Um,
mean, if it's got stevia, it's not sugar, so it won't get sticky.
I don't know. Anywho, vinyl check time. Again, I really miss Nick at times like this because during his segments of the show, I usually disassociate completely and just watch him do his thing with a glazed look in my eyes. But I have two today. Brand new album by Devin Townsend, The Moth, already in the vinyl in the Mylar. Um, like I said, I'm moving next week, so my stuff is all broken down. I disconnected my whole setup here, and I will reset it up at my new place next in a week and a half. And so the Moth, this is a kind of rock opera and grandiose progressive rock masterpiece. This is one of the few albums we gave a 10 of 10 to this year, and I back it. It is wonderful. I was trying to do kind of like a little YouTube glow up on it, and I couldn't even break it down well enough to do it justice. But anyway, this was the Indie Record Store pre-order special vinyl color. So do tell. This is two LPs in the gatefold. Did come in the Mylar. Thank you, Inside Out Music, for caring about vinyl, as I'm sure Dev does too.
I love when they do that, when they take steps forward to actually go, you know what? We care about our listeners taking care of their fucking records. You know what I
So
mean?
this is apparently the in a triple gatefold, but two LPs, the 180-gram trans milky clear LP with an LP booklet. So I'll see if I can show off the vinyl really quick. This light is not going to do it justice. It is kind of like a translucent lilac, but and it's called Milky, and there is kind of like a little milk pattern, spilled milk pattern in it. But what is your take on this, Don? What color would you say this is?
Oh,
Hard to
boy,
tell. I know
that's
you're colorblind.
Let me see. Because initially it looked clear.
It
But
is kind of
that,
a translucent guy, right?
yeah,
You can kind of see.
I'm gonna have to say it's a, um, I'm gonna say violet discharge.
Very good. I was going to say Devin's come on some purple
Yeah.
candy, but
Oh, I like it. Oh, but only if he's eaten like 3 cases of grape nerds.
great nerds. Oh no. Anywho, and then a second one I have. This was sent to me. This is great. So I've been talking a lot about org records, org.com, orgrecords.com. They have been buying and putting out joint represses, classic punk rock represses from the 80s. They signed Bad Brains recently to release all of their stuff. Would be worth picking up some of those. And they've been doing a series of Descendants, and I've showed off a couple of other ones I have. Enjoy. This was the first Descendants record I really heard all of in high school. So, like, sophomore year of high school, me was into this a lot. And then I tried out for some punk bands, and they were like, "No, you're too much of a rock singer. I cannot screw with you." But yeah, enjoy. Descendants enjoy with the toilet paper, the back cover beautifully reimagined. And the record before this was the urine one, right? So like the P yellow is represented by the P at the bottom, and then the toilet paper roll with no paper left, as you do when you are Descendants. This came in the Mylar. This I will keep as is because this is great. And this is a what was this variant? I believe I have the hype sticker. This is 40th anniversary pressing wild cherry color vinyl. You tell me if you agree with this. This has also kind of got a little smoky swirl inside.
Oh,
Wild cherry. But that's gorgeous, right?
that looks really good.
And the urine record was also urine colored. Like really like old pee sitting in the toilet bowl unflushed.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna say it's play that funky minstrel white boy.
Hey, oh, good one. I don't know if you saved that one, but that was fantastic. Uh,
Believe it or not, I didn't. I'm just kind of like I'm on point today.
all right. Tell me what your vinyl check is if you have one, Don.
Yeah, so I only got one this week, but I actually stopped off at On a Whim today, which is my friend Gianna's shop here in Myrtle Beach, and I picked up for $12 a very beautiful copy of Wizards Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep. And it's got the beautiful gatefold. And I was just like, I was like, for $12, I got to get it. I remembered hearing it when I was younger. I don't remember much about it. Never been much of a Uriah Heep fan, but I was like, for $12, the artwork was great. And I remembered not hating it. So I figured, you know what, in my old age, give it another listen and see what you think. And so, and
That's
it's
kind of like
actually,
me with Saxon, where I became a Saxon fan the last few years after never liking them. And Uriah Heep's been great every time I've ever seen them.
I saw them with Priest. Did you see that tour?
Same
Yes.
tour.
Yeah, and they were fantastic. And so that was why I was like, you know what, I'm going to jump on this one though. But this is it's got this little fellow. We've talked about these, the little, you know, and I'm going to swap it out for mine because this design drives me crazy because it doesn't go in nicely. That's what she said. But look at this, dude. It's like it's never been played for some reason. Like it just really looks pristine, and it's original pressing from '72 on Bronze Records. So, um, I'm excited to pop this on the turntable though. But that's all I got this week, and I'm sticking to it.
Right on. Yeah, that looked absolutely mint. That's lucky, a lucky find. News check time. I know that we've been harping on this blue dot fever thing, and like we all have predicted, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Acid Bath has now canceled their very first show since their comeback last year, and it was in the LA area. Very interesting. So there's Ontario, California, not to be confused with Ontario, Canada, which I think there is like ongoing confusion. And even the airport code for that airport, because I've flown out of there, is ONT, and people think it's Toronto and book wrong plane flights all the time for that. And so Acid Bath has canceled their basically LA area. It would have been their second or third LA area show, but they've canceled it, which is too bad. It could have been the mix of the bands, but definitely undersold. So we're seeing that. Also, super obviously the news of the week that has broken the internet as we record this midweek. Faith No More is coming back. I would have bet my life that they would not ever reunite again, but the thaw has apparently been on, and I'm sure the money is probably incredible for them to come back. They signed with the global booking agency 30E out of Brazil, but they book the whole world. They recently signed System of a Down, by the way, who Faith No More was supposed to tour with twice. They really haven't played since before the pandemic, as you know. Had two tours booked that were canceled, including a night before kind of thing where the band was rehearsing and Patton didn't show up to rehearse and then told them via text, I'm canceling the tour. I can't do the tour, which I think created a lot of ill will in the band. But one of my favorite bands of all time, previous podcast subject, Faith No More. I'm so excited they're coming. Anything. I will take anything. I will be so happy to have them back. It is the 30th anniversary next year of Album of the Year, which I missed the tour date for because my mom died. And then I never saw them because they broke up at the end of that tour. It was Faith No More and Limp Bizkit. And then at the end of that tour, maybe Limp Bizkit jinxed them because they broke up. And that is all my news. Don, what news do you have, or do you have a comment on Faith No More reuniting? Have you ever seen Faith No More? Did you want to see them?
I have. I've seen Faith No More twice, and I don't know what it is. I loved the real thing. I loved I loved We Care a lot. I loved We Care a lot. And I mean, because that was those are my high school years. That was my junior senior year of high school. I saw them open for Billy Idol because that was the only reason I went to that show. And then I saw them with hello, who else did I see them with that they toured? I'm trying to think. Shit, I can't remember. I've seen them three times. The other time I saw them was at the old Masquerade, rest in peace, Masquerade. They were touring for that album, The Dogs. I don't remember what that album was called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
King
I
for a
forget.
day, fool for a
King,
lifetime.
thank you. Yes. And I saw them on that tour. And that was when I kind of got lost. I
Fair
was
enough.
kind of
That
like,
album is the most
yeah.
difficult and undigestible album where I think
Hmm.
Patton had the most influence on that album singularly,
Yeah.
and it sounds like Bungle, which is threw a lot of fans off because they were not prepared or ready for it.
That's what it was because I loved Angel Dust. I thought
I
Angel
love
Dust
that.
was a great album. Like, so those two albums were like great. And then all of a sudden, when the King for a Day album came out, I was like, mm, mm,
What is this? Whatever you did before, they went a whole
mm.
different direction.
And it also
Um,
didn't help that I saw them on that tour and they played most of that.
yes,
It
they
was
also
like,
did that
almost the
whole lot.
set
Yeah,
was like, it was
and
a
they had a new
lot of it.
guitar player at the time who only knew that material mostly, except for a
Uh-huh.
few things. Nick is a huge "We Care a Lot" fan of that song and somewhat
Mhm.
of that album. I think The Real Thing and Angel Dust are absolute 10 of 10s. I think King for a Day is like a 60-40 or 50-50. And I think Album of the Year is like an 80-10 because it went back toward Angel Dust a little bit.
Mhm.
And then I love Sol Invictus, which was their comeback record in 2015. I'm not greedy. If they don't do a new album, I'll live. I just want to see them play one more time. Patton has been on tour with the Avid Brothers for that record, and they have been doing Faith No More covers because that was like the brothers were like, "Would you do some Faith No More or Bungle covers?" He's like, "Well, Bungle is happening now. I don't want to go back and do Bungle, but like I love that they have been doing them." And then I really thought between all the guys, Billy Gould and Patton would never ever be in a room together, let alone on stage. So they're the two people who haven't reconciled, as far as I know, but they must have. And then Jim Martin is never being invited back. That's just not ever happening because Patton's the person who didn't like him mostly.
Mhm. Which is
Anywho,
so funny because he hated Patton.
they hated each other.
It's
They
like
did not like each other.
it still goes beyond me how somebody can be in a band with people they don't love. But anyway, well,
Well,
so the only other news that I had, which I thought was pretty exciting, was that Danzig did announce the opening acts and did announce the venues of where they're going to be playing in each city. Um, I personally don't think this constitutes as being called a tour. I mean, it's like a 7 show run, but you know what? Good on them. I would love to be able to see them. The closest they're coming here, I think, is New Orleans, and that's like an 8 hour, 9 hour drive from me. So, and at 52, it sounds painful.
you're not gonna
So,
fly out. It's not important. Like you,
I would like to, but we've got some other shows coming up around town. Like we're going to Rush in November in Charlotte, which that was a last minute thing. You want to talk about real quick your Blue Dot Fever was that the tickets that we ended up getting are definitely in the upper level, kind of like mid nosebleed, those tickets were $200. Originally we passed on them. They were 102 when we saw them. We nabbed them, and then after the first show, where everyone realized Annika was kicking ass, those same like the row that we bought tickets on went up to $380. So it's like, shows like that. So, but I would really like to try to, hit that show. I don't know for sure, but yeah, Nashville is doable because I have a friend who lives in Nashville that maybe I can go crash with. I would just have to fly out, but either way, I'd love to see it. And Glenn Danzig did announce that there was going to be something special happening at the Anaheim show, which is the
yeah,
last
they
show.
they haven't announced like some additional openers or something.
No, and they said it was going to be announced at the end of the week, which by the time this airs, it'll be out in the public. But I was at first I was thinking maybe it would be like a Danzig kind of Danzig and Friends, but they kind of did that with Legacy, with the Legacy shows, where he had like all the different members of, Samain and the Misfits and whatnot. And so, unless he does something really, really fucking crazy, like Metallica shows up. I don't know. So I'm curious to see what the mystery is going to be. So and the other news again, not so metal, but yeah, Keefy and I are very open about our being Bon Jovi fans. John Bon Jovi released a statement recently that he is 100% cleared from his vocal therapy after the major surgery that he had. And if anyone saw the documentary, you'll know he was in bad shape, and we've been saying it for a long time. And there's this one scene in the documentary where he comes off stage and Dorothea, his wife, is waiting at the at the ramp, and he comes down and she looks at him. She goes, "That was not good." She goes, "That was not good at all." And he was like, "Ah, okay," and that was kind of the end for that. So, but he says he's had a full recovery. They are doing like a nine, is it 9 nights? It's either 9 or 7. I can't remember. They're doing like a residency at Madison Square Garden in July. And then they're heading over to Europe to do some shows. There's been no mention of a full-on North American tour, but I would not be surprised if this is like testing the waters. But all I can say is I hope that those shows are spaced out, because I would be a nervous wreck if I was going into that post-surgery and going, how am I doing 7 shows?
Yeah, I didn't see the.
Unless they do like the Rush thing where they did 2 on, 2 off, another
Yeah.
2 off. You know what I mean? Like pace
So,
yourself.
so let me jump in and ask a question here, which is I didn't see the Bon Jovi documentary yet, and I understand that he had a very bad. His throat problems were exacerbated by the fact that his hearing is kind of gone, and so he ruined his voice by straining to try to like again. If you already struggle with your voice and down tuning tremendously to be able to do stuff you did 40 years ago, and then you can't hear to pitch correct, you fuck your voice up irreparably. And I think this is what happened to Paul. I'm not saying it's the exact same thing. I would have to like really have the empirical evidence to prove it, but I feel like it's very similar to what happened with Paul, where Paul blew his voice out, couldn't hear either because he's already was born with hearing loss and then got worse progressively after decades. And so if you can't pitch correct, you make it worse. I've been there. My mentor and I here in San Francisco for singing, Dennis, who was a regular at my karaoke, but we also talk all about vocal technique and singing things. We were discussing this, and he asked me about Bon Jovi, and I was like, I'm not really an authority on Bon Jovi anymore, but I know that he had major throat and hearing problems. First, it was just hearing. So, look, I don't wish bad on John Bon Jovi. I love some Bon Jovi. I remember in junior high school, my teacher, Anthony Mazzarello, brought in Slippery When Wet on vinyl to play it for us as an example of what he thought was the best album of the 80s so far. And people were like, Thriller and other things. And 1984 was my, like Van Halen 1984 is better than this. But like Slippery When Wet's fucking great.
It's
Imagine
a
if,
banger album. It's a bang. I mean, it's a fun
imagine
record.
if Kiss chose Richie Sambora instead of Ace, what different fates we would have.
Oh my God. I don't know that the songs would have been any better. Unless they gave him more like, justice to be like, hey, let's see what you got. Because as I don't know how you feel about it, but man, I'm not gonna lie, his Stranger in This Town solo album to me is as good, if not better written than most of the Bon Jovi stuff, I thought,
On par with the Bon Jovi release, and I think he made it that way on purpose to try to like get there. Um, Best of luck to John. I
Yeah.
personally would not try to go right to MSG and do a whole bunch of New York City shows. And allow me. I know Don is the furthest thing from a sports guy. The Knicks won the NBA Finals for the first time in my whole lifetime. Uh, Don, Nick was like in the chat over the weekend. Your team's gonna win, Don. Don, no response. Don could not care less about Carolina hockey, football, nothing. NASCAR, nothing. But and I had been kind of like, well, if the Knicks win, that's wonderful, and if they don't win, I'm not. Yeah, another year where they don't win. Last time the Knicks won a title, I was one. The last time they were this good, I was in the womb, and they had never won. They got close twice in my whole life, 53 years. So they finally won. And what I was going to say was in New York, when they love you hard. And when they hate you, they not only boo the shit out of you, they tell everyone they did, because that's New York. So, like, when you achieve greatness, then like they laud you. But if you suck, not only are they going to tell everyone, they're going to rub your fucking face in it. That is what is being a New Yorker, right? And I'm sorry, everybody. I'm the nice New Yorker. Most people like, I can't believe you're from New York City. You're from the Bronx, New York, and you're a nice guy. Well, I left my street shit in the past, but like, I'm pretty nice.
Dude, I thought
overall.
you were from Boston when we first met because I was
Well,
like,
I
he's. I
lived in
was like,
Boston almost like I just came from Boston. So like I lived in Boston and so yeah, all good in the hood.
oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's my
just
news. Yeah,
I
I don't have
I'm
anything else.
rooting for Bon Jovi. Let's also talk for one more second since it's kind of apropos. We're waiting
Yeah.
on our guest is going to arrive soon, but I started the Screaming Life book by Kim Thayil. So I think this is relevant to our next part of the show. And
Mm.
so it's really interesting. I'm waiting for my copy to come, but I got the audiobook in the meantime on Audible with some credits. And he's really compelling. And I didn't really think about this that when, and like maybe this is something to ponder. He had, his parents came to the Pacific Northwest to go to college. He's born. They moved briefly to Chicago. He started to go to school in Chicago. He had met Hiro Yamamoto, the original bassist of Soundgarden and one of the leading leaders of the band initially. Like whatever that concoction was that was Hiro, Kim, and Chris. And Chris was basically a singing drummer in the beginning. And like super interesting. He's like Soundgarden was one of the few bands in any city that had two Pacific Islanders in the band. Hiro is Japanese descent. I'm Indian, right? Like
I I never
Asians
thought about that. That's
in
so
the
funny.
band, and like people would just be like, "Wow, you guys are inherently interesting." Beside musically, you guys are not three white guys from fucking Ellensburg, you know.
Hmm.
Screaming Trees, as we know, we love Lanigan here on the show. Four ginormous white guys, right? Four 6'4", 6'5", get gangly bruising guys who could be football players or were screaming trees, which
And they
also
all looked related.
they
So
all
that
look
was
well.
even
Two of them
funnier.
were, yeah.
I
Two of
mean, but
them
no,
were,
they
and the other
all
two
looked
look like, yeah,
related.
they all look like no DNA
Separation there.
separation there at all. I will tell you the Barrett Martin book that I just finished recently, which was his book from a few years ago that I missed getting, and now I regret it. It is brilliant. He's also fucking brilliant as a person and a drummer, and Seattle, what an inherently great band, and yeah, what a great, what a time to be alive to be getting so much love again for music that is 35 years old. And Kim's book so far is a 10 of 10. And now let's do our shirt check and then let us welcome in our guest. My shirt check, Don will love this. This is almost a shout out to Don. This is No King shirt from King's Barcade in Raleigh, a bar I have been to like 16 years ago. And they were having a charity No King's Day shirt. And I bought this. And this like months ago. I've been meaning to wear this on the podcast expressly to wear it for you. So King's Barcade, Raleigh, No Kings, hell yeah. Don, what's your shirt?
I love that. By the way, I was at King's what was it? To see shit, who did I see? Emma Ruth Rundle when she was in Raleigh. That's where I went and saw her there. And that's a great venue. It's one of those venues it's like the minute you walk in, it's like Luke Skywalker when he first saw the Millennium Falcon. He was like, what is this crap? Like, what is this dump, you know? And I always know from being a musician myself who's played a bunch of gigs is that sometimes the dumpier places have the are the best venues. And that sound for someone who was doing an acoustic solo gig was impeccable. So yes, hats off to King's Barcade. It's fantastic. But I'm rocking the Danzig Dua Lipa mashup that I designed for my t-shirt shop that's on Threadless. So I have a lot of fun doing these. I like Nick and Keefy's reactions when they see my shirts. And they're also fun, and it's also the one thing I can really do well when I'm stoked.
I sincerely hope you don't get sued by Danzig, but that shirt is brilliant. And I don't even like Dua Lipa remotely, but that shirt is brilliant. The Britney Spears one I kind of need to have because she
Oh, the
deserves
volume
all
four
our.
one, the
We need
volume
all the
four.
volume for all of our love and support needs to. Somebody please knock on her door and make sure she's okay because she is not
Seriously.
okay if you look at her socials.
Nah,
Great job. You
man.
can get Don's shirt he's wearing and every other awesome shirt he's made at his Threadless store in the link in our description. Normally we don't plug our shit so hard, but like this is worth it, man. I need some of
Mm.
these newer ones you've done.
And
I
I
have the
hope
shitty
I
Beatles, which I love.
hope Glenn does sue me because that would do wonders for my site. Like my shit would just go through the roof, man. Seriously, I'm like, please, somebody sue me so I can get hits. I mean,
Believe
but
me when I tell you, you don't mean that because I've been there and it sucks. But anyway, all right. That was our shirt check, which means we're ready for the meat. I'm going to give a brief pause and welcome in our guest, Dave Krusin. Hold on one second. I have to figure out the controls because this thing, they keep moving the controls. So we're back from our break, and we are honored to be joined by Dave Krusin. You know him best as the drummer on Pearl Jam's 10, but he's actually had a tremendous career in music. And we're here today to talk about the brand new single from King Ultramega, Loud Love, which Dave plays on. So, Dave, how are you? And thank you for joining us today.
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me. I'm doing all right. Just hanging out in the Northwest. I'm actually heading to New York tomorrow, hang out with my son, and then I'm going to Florida, see my daughter. So getting ready to head out for a week.
Right on. I'm from New York originally. I live in the Bay Area. Don
Um,
is from Atlanta or from New Orleans. Used to live in Atlanta. Now he's in South Carolina. I forget where you are, Don.
yeah, dude, bring plenty of Gold Bond with you, man, because it is bad down here, man.
uh
Swampy.
Swamp
Oh, it's you wouldn't
Swassy.
believe it. Yeah. For someone who hates hot weather, I live out here. My wife and I can't wait to retire to the Northwest at some point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, right on. And my fiance used to live in the Pacific Northwest. She's been extolling the virtues of the Seattle regional area, and I've been like, maybe California is not it for me. Um,
Well, it's nice right now, that's for sure. Summer's the best, for
right
sure.
on. That's what I heard. So Dave, man, first of all, great to meet you and an honor, but also like this we've done a bunch of stuff at Ghost Cult Mag, which is my website with King Ultramega, a bunch of interviews. Mengi and I go back a while. And I'm a huge fan of the project because I'm an obsessive Cornell and Soundgarden fan. So I love that not only are they choosing tremendous guests to come on and actually make music with them, but also like making sure to have like a Seattle presence, people who might have known Chris or know Soundgarden really intimately well, like you might. And so Loud Love is incredible. Lizzie is just stupendous vocally on this. I promised I wasn't going to over listen to the song, and then I found myself listening to it like 80 times in a row. I'm sure the publicist Curtis can see that I just it's on a loop the
Mhm.
last day. And so let's talk like how did they approach you? Did you get to choose this track to be on? Did they offer you this track? I know they're basically doing like a track at a time and sort of dripping it out until a whole record is ready.
Well, Mark got a hold of me, and yeah, I was floored, really super honored to be asked to be involved. Sounded like a really great project, and I too am a huge Soundgarden fan and a Chris Cornell fan since I guess the mid '80s, really, since they started out. So yeah, I really I was honored to be asked, and then the song, I think that was Mark's idea. And immediately like, yeah, okay. Like I was very, and he was super cool about it. He's like, do your thing and don't, no stress, just have fun with it. And so yeah, I was a little nervous to get into that song just because the drumming is so amazing as it is on pretty much I think everything out. 4th of July would have been something I would have, maybe felt a little easier tackling, but it's always been one of my favorite songs of theirs. And getting to play with them, they just took the drums out, so I got to track it listening to the band, and that was really that helped kind of put me in the spirit. You know what I mean? His vocals really uh, got the juices flowing in here, and I did it a few times, so I'm not gonna lie. It was no first take. I didn't edit anything. I don't know how to edit. I just have a little drum studio here. I'm terrible at Pro Tools, but once I get the mic set up, I'm all right. But yeah, I just got into it and worked up a hell of a sweat and bashed away for a few hours and finally got through the through the song.
Right on, you nailed it. I had the pleasure and the experience of being at a sound check earlier this year for Metal Allegiance, and it was like the first ever live King Ultramega anything. And I had to watch Portnoy try to remember how to do the Cameron drums on the day I tried to live. So, like, that goes without saying,
Wow.
Matt is incredible. But even Portnoy, who is the drummer of drummers in a way,
Yeah.
was like, why did he do this? Why is this? What is this beat at the end of the song that also repeats from the guitar solo coda? What is this? And so, like, full respect to just come in and put your own stamp on it. You killed it. Great
Oh,
job.
thanks, man.
And again, I know, as a person, Don is a professional musician. I used to be in bands. It's so hard to nail covers of iconic songs or iconic artists because people know them. They know every nuance, every beat, and everything. So I'm sure Don has some feedback about that too. He can share. But yeah, great job, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Dave. Again, pleasure to meet you. It's a privilege, actually.
Right.
So I really appreciate, your sound was a big influence on my drummer when I was in high school. So like it was such an incredible
All
thing.
right. Thank you.
And I did, yeah, it made he was like the one talented guy in our band. But so I guess one of the things we were talking about was I loved what you were talking about how like they pulled the drums out of the out of the mix. You went in and you laid your tracks down, and resident deadhead here who's cosmic about everything though. Like when it comes to certain music or in music in general, like there's a spirit to it, and when you
Mhm.
feel it, and sometimes it's almost like transcendental, like you kind
Mhm.
of let it take over. Was that kind of an experience that you had going into that with that, like when you heard it and you're just like, okay, I get to steer this myself. Like, what did it take a while to kind of channel that, or was it pretty quick and natural?
It took a while. I heard the song so many times, but never, it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff like I grew up with, Zeppelin, Stone, whatever it is. It's like things that I love the drumming of, I love the song, but never really like I just get into the music. I don't really focus on the drums. So when I was trying to do that, it was like, whoa, wait a minute, hang on. So yeah, it was a little frustrating for a little while because it's like, damn it, like, but then like I was saying it, like I worked up a sweat. I was in here for a while, um, hacking away. And then it was like, oh, wait, I think I'm not cracking the code, but I'm getting in the spirit of the tune and I'm really kind of like trying to channel Matt here. And yeah, after a while, it was like, okay, I think I got, and then I did a few where I could make it through the entire song. And then it was like, okay, now I'm now I'm finding my spot here. You know what I mean? So it's not exact. I'm not consciously trying to put my spin on it, but I can't help it because I'm not the best at, straight up nailing other people's stuff. But yeah, I just got through one. I was like, okay, that one felt good. Let's just leave it there.
I think
Right
that's
on.
so amazing to hear. I love that. And I did want to ask one more question just to kind of piggyback on that. Was there a point in time when you're going into this and you're thinking too much about it, where you're like, okay, I'm trying to attack this the way Matt does, and I'm trying to
Mhm.
nail this. And at what point were you just like, Luke Skywalker with the blast shield down, where you're just like, okay, I have to go with my instinct here and just go with feel.
Yeah. I don't remember how many takes it took, but yeah, I just kind of, after getting a little frustrated with myself, I just tried to play through it and have fun and just kind of feel it out as opposed to really like, oh, damn, that's right. I missed that, turn or whatever. So once I did that a couple of times, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll just relax a little bit and enjoy the song and play to the song as opposed to trying to I'm not going to be able to nail his drum part, so I'll just try and play along with the rest of the band. And that's when it started to get like, okay, it's feeling good.
Right on. I love that so much. Talk for a second about like Don and I privately were like, dude, oh my God, Skolnick, right? Because like again, he continues to be just a chameleonic force in music, especially heavy music. We know him from, thrash metal, but he's so gifted. Like the iconic feedback that was such an essential part of that 80s, late 80s Soundgarden sound from Kim and Chris's riffs, right? Like, he wrote this song just so killer, and he just delivers, whether it's dialing in the tone, the rhythms, the little eccentricities that Kim has. I'm in the middle of Kim's book right now, so my brain is full of Kim notes, but yeah, man, just unbelievable job by the whole band. And again, I can't say enough about Lizzie, who just crushes almost
Oh
every
yeah.
cover she ever does.
I was floored. Yeah, when I heard the whole thing, because getting to play with the band's tracks was awesome. And I had no idea what I was sure it was going to kick ass, but as Mark sent it to me, I could not believe it. And the vocals weren't done yet, but I was like, is this still the band? Like it was so like just captured it completely. And then yeah, then I finally got to her singing on it was just, forget about it. Like I knew it was going to be good. I know who she is and have heard her before, but yeah, really amazing.
Yeah, she absolutely showed up to play, like not kidding around at all.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody, like Mark is wonderful, and we again I have a lot of history with him, but like I just think the reason he gets people to just kind of come along with him on these rides is his personality. He's a tremendous producer and writer in his own right, and tremendous bass player. So I appreciate all those things about him, and he's great. He brings people together in a way I haven't seen done before. There are some great tributes. There are some wonderful tribute albums out there, and there have been over my life. And I love covers in general because every band kind of starts out as a covers band. But shout
Mhm.
out to Mark for just kind of continuing the, I know Soundgarden just got in the Hall of Fame. No one will ever forget Chris or Soundgarden or Temple of the Dog, but like just it's so good. It feels right to have this stuff coming out right now by these legends.
Yeah, absolutely. And the amount of talent he was telling me who was involved, and yeah, I'm excited to hear the rest of the stuff for sure. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a surprise every time. I'll tell you in the best way. Don, did you have anything more about King Ultramega for Dave?
Yeah, actually, I did. I had just a couple of questions. Was that um, you guys did a lot of this remote, right? Like, I mean, you obviously were not in the studio a lot of, yeah, together a lot. Um, is there any talk of possibly doing some sort of like an event where like all these people will come together to like kind of do this project live in a setting that's, kind of welcomes the fans a little bit, but like maybe not taking it on a full tour, but really making it something special. Like, has that been discussed at all?
Not that I know of, but I would love to. I think, yeah, Mark's really, I was really impressed about, just hearing all the people involved and just, dealing with him myself. He seems like one of those guys. I got another, my buddy Rami Jaffe's kind of the same way. Such a great, you know, straw that stirs the drink. And so, yeah, I would love to. I'll come out to New York. You know what I mean? We should do one in New York and LA, Chicago, maybe a mini tour. You know what I mean?
I was thinking the same thing. Like I could total picture like like a major market kind of thing, like
Seattle for sure.
Seattle, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Myrtle Beach. Since I live here,
Love
no,
Myrtle
I'm
Beach.
just kidding. No, that'd be great if you came
I've
here.
played there. I've played there a couple times.
It's but like I think that would be such a great thing for the fans because obviously we're getting the music and this is something special. I didn't listen to it 80 times like Nick did. I listened to it probably about seven today, but back to back. And I noticed that every time I listened, I heard something different. And there's something to be said about the chemistry of the musicians that when you guys can do this apart, that it sounds cohesive. And like
Yeah.
that's something really special. And was that something that was a little difficult to fall into, being that you're doing this remotely? Because I've never had that experience as a musician. I've always been in the same room with the guys I play music with. So,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
how do you get that feel? You,
It's kind of a weird thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I've been doing that for so long, like probably 20 years. Buddy of mine was like, you gotta get Pro Tools because I had a reel-to-reel tape, well, I'm an analog guy. And he's like, do it and we can swap files. And I'm like, yeah, fine. So I got a setup and I like I said, I'm not good with Pro Tools. I can't edit. It's pretty lame, but my friends are good at that stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I've got better gear these days. I kind of up that, so I can get decent sounds. And I have a room. My brother's contractor, he built this room out for me, so it sounds good. So I've been fortunate to have good rooms to play in, so the drums sound good in that sense. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know how to explain that because just off the top of my head, I would think it's like it's gonna sound, it's not gonna really fit together and rock. And how can you do that? Because usually, yeah, same here. It's like you're in the same room. You're at least cutting the basics, even if he's not singing every time or she. So, yeah, it's something I've been doing for so long that I knew it would work, and I could tell he's a talented guy. He's getting people together. Like he knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's putting his name out there as well. So I just figured it's gonna come together. It's gonna sound good. They're gonna piece it together. And then he sent me some stuff actually from I don't know where that studio was, in New York somewhere, I guess. But it looked really nice. It was like a pro studio, It was nice. And he was playing something back like on the board and sounded great. I figured it would. But yeah, it would be great to get everybody together and play.
I have a feeling NAM is the environment where you could get everybody's schedules to align at the same time. The NAM show in Anaheim and or Nashville, winter or summer NAM, right? And I know that's how they did Metal Allegiance and the one-off
hmm.
King Ultramega, which was wild, and it just happened that everybody was there performing with Metal Allegiance and able to do a King Ultramega song. But like I said, just fantastic stuff. Mark is wonderful. Let us pick your brain for a second about 1989 Soundgarden and 1989 Seattle, right? Because you know, this is pre Pearl Jam and the early Seattle bands. Like I said, I'm in the middle of Kim's book, so my head is Green River, Malfunction, Soundgarden, Melvins, right? So much is, Screaming Trees were a thing, but not big yet. So many tremendous foundational artists are in this scene at the time, and Soundgarden was kind of an outlier. Obviously, look, Chris, great guy, great looking guy, tremendous voice. A whole band is talented. Louder Than Love is the last record with Hero before Ben comes in, and and I think Ben is on the cover of the single, which is weird because they had done the press photos, right? And Hero had left.
Okay.
But just if you have any recollections of like Soundgarden at that time, this is like, obviously they signed A&M, but they're just not breaking through yet in a major way like we think of rock bands today. And I wanted to know like your take on that, on them at the time and yourself and your role in the scene, and what it was like in the greater Seattle music scene.
I mean, I saw them with Matt, so I saw that. Uh, I think the lineup was fairly new. I'm pretty sure I had not seen them, but heard them, been in the same club with them earlier, like I think 88. Um, but yeah, it was fast and furious. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in, a lot going on. And it's looking back, I mean, I wish, and I'm sure everyone does, that it's like, pay attention. You know what I mean? This is a really cool period of time. And it was, I mean, you sensed it, there was so much great music going on, but I really wish I would have paid attention even more. But an interesting thing, I just saw an interview snippet that Kim did, and he was talking about when they were first forming the band. And Chris was like, well, should I play drums or should I sing? That whole thing they were trying to figure out. And it's just so interesting, like the fact that I know so many singers that I've worked with and been friends with are drummers. It's kind of a trip. It can be annoying as hell, but mostly it's a great thing. So yeah, it was interesting to hear that, it's like, how could that even be a question like, should I go that route or should I do that? You know, kind of
I
a
mean, I did want to ask a just kind of touch base on that is that it's such like a time, it was like a pivotal time. Like music was changing, music was like growing, and it was a lot of people didn't know what to do with it. And but as a young listener of music myself, I was at that point in my time where I was like, you know what, this is change. This is something super different because we were all about wanting to go against the grain, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden when
Yeah.
something comes in and you're like, this is heavy in a whole different kind of way than what I'm used to listening to. It was lyrically heavy. There was so much substance to it, and like, was that a conscious thing that was going around? Like, I mean, like, were people just generally trying to do that, or was it just like, this is just how we are. We just happen to be in bands now. This is the music you're getting.
Yeah, I think everybody'd been in bands and, probably tried different things and had similar influences. And then you put that together and then that's when the chemistry takes over. Man, there was some good stuff. You know who was great? Tad. I don't know if you guys know who Tad
Love
is.
them. They were so good.
Wow. Might have been one of the best shows I ever saw was Tad at the off ramp. Um, but yeah, Screaming Trees, like you said, it was kind of like it was the 60s because the 80s it got so kind of pigeonholed and it got stale, like you're saying. We were all looking for something different. Like you know what I mean? It was just kind of in a rut. And I think that Seattle back then, I was just, born in 66, but like the 60s being like there was so much variety, and it was just about the music. It was like, if it was great music, it was great music. Didn't care, you know what I mean? Like the package it came in was not really as important as what you're hearing. And I think that was something that, is new, but it just reminds me of like maybe like it's like the 60s when rock was starting to get heavier, you know what I mean, and branch out. And there were all these bands that toured together that did not sound like each other or look like each other. They were just badass and rocked, however they rocked. And uh, I think that was some of what was going on late 80s in Seattle.
See, because one of the things I loved about it, like you were just talking about that. I mean, for Christ's sakes, man, Hendrix opened for the Monkees. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this was like a thing. Rush was
Yeah.
opening for Uriah Heep. I mean, like back then, it was like, okay, you know what? You're a band, you're gonna make music together. And so, and of course, grunge wasn't even called grunge when we were listening to this music. We didn't really know, like to me, Alice in Chains was metal, Pearl Jam was rock, hard, like was rock, you know what I mean? And like, it
Yeah.
was just one of these things. But what I was so blown away was that this was the first time in a long time or ever, that I could pick five bands and love them all, but they all sound distinctly different. I mean, Alice in Chains had a sound, Pearl Jam had a sound, Soundgarden had a sound, Tad had a sound, Mother Love Bone had a sound, and I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is magic, and so that had to be an exciting thing like for you guys. And I guess what I was going to ask real quick about that was that so, obviously there was a lot of camaraderie, like amongst a lot of the players in Seattle at the time on the scene. Was there ever some kind of like snickering or something that was going around, like where you were just like, oh, I can't believe you're doing this, or I can't believe you're doing that? Or was it more like the 60s, like you were saying, where you were like, hey,
Yeah.
the more the merrier. Let's keep a variety show going.
It was, people played together, like little projects spun off. Temple of the Dog's a great example of that. Jeff Ament had a cover band, called Love Co. that did like Skinner tunes. And I mean, like, it just like people played together on different things, you know what I mean? And it was a very communal vibe. It was really cool.
Amazing. Yeah, I know Jerry has talked in some interviews about like there was a vibe,
Mhm.
late 80s vibe where it was like, okay, Queensryche is doing very well and successful, and Don and I, our metal is in our tagline of this show and our websites and things. And it's like Queensryche and Metal Church, we're not those guys. Nothing against them. Great bands, tremendous albums and songs from both. Um, but like we're not them. and you could tell it was like a vibe between sort of Seattle and the surrounding Tacoma. I know all the bands come from different places, Olympia, and obviously Nirvana had just not happened fully yet. I think Bleach just had like a 37th anniversary. God, I'm old. I bought that tape in high school. But at Tower
Dude,
Records
I
in Kansas
just took
City,
3 Advil before this interview, so that tells
right?
you how old we are.
I am, my back hurts years old today. But yeah, man, just felt like Don, you hit on it perfectly. It did seem like there's a tremendous camaraderie. And Don and I are huge Andy Wood and Mother Love Bone fans. So I don't know if you
Oh
obviously
yeah.
were
Oh
brothers
my
in arms
God.
with them too.
Oh yeah. I saw Mother Love Bone. I had friends that had a band called Son of Man, and there was a show at the Central. Alice in Chains was a headliner, and I think Mother Love Bone just got off tour, and they were the opener. So they played first, and then Son of Man, and then Alice in Chains. And when I got there, and they were about to play, there was like 10 people at the Central at that point, and I'll just never forget it. Because I saw them at Bumper Shoot. I was a huge Mother Love Bone fan. Um, Greg Gilmore's from the area I grew up, Gig Harbor area. So I'd seen him play in high school. We did a battle of the bands when I was in eighth grade, and I think he was in 11th grade or something. He's like 3 or 4 years older than me. They had a band called Rocks Off. It was killer. They were awesome. But I was a fan of his from, the time I was in eighth grade. So seeing him play like that in a little club right there, you know, and Andy Wood saying, "Who's smoking the clove?" And I'm standing like 2 feet in front of him smoking a clove. And he took a hit off it, and it was like still one of my highlights of my life. It was amazing. And then Alice in Chains came out and played through, I think they're on the third song, and by then it had gotten pretty packed. It was slam packed by then, actually. His mic hit him in the mouth, and he got pissed. And I think he like kicked his amp over and split. And that was like 3 songs in. So things like that. And Screaming Trees were so good. We got to play with them in San Francisco when we did a little tour with Alice in Chains. They were on like one show in San Francisco. That blew my mind. Yeah, man, it was. You know who else? Speaking of metal, who was a band that was like right before Queensryche, I think, was called Rail. I saw them under the monorail, and the dude had like big furry boots, and the drummer was like, I think he had a razor blade on his ride cymbal bell because he would like hit the ride, and his sticks would just like shred, and he'd grab another. It was badass. It
I
was a
like the
great time.
showmanship. It was a
Yeah,
time.
exactly. No, it was great. It's like 85, 86 maybe.
And I was going to ask you personally as we delve into a few other things, and you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for this, Dave. Just like I didn't know if you had any punk influence in your past because you are such a powerful and strong drummer from what we know and hearing you. And obviously, as you get older, everybody grows as an artist and you get more nuanced, and you're not, hard rock's a young man's game, but like there were so many influential Seattle punk bands also. And I was wondering if any of them or any of those drummers had like an impact on you locally or bigger.
Well, again, Greg Gilmore. They had a band, 10 Minute Warning, Duff McKagan. And when we were kids, we were, I mean, maybe 18. The band I was in, we had a PA. It was like that was back when they were huge stacks. So we had this PA, and then a couple of our friends wanted to put on a punk show. And it was Fastbacks, 10 Minute Warning. I don't know if it was the Silly Killers. I can't remember who the other band was, but we found a venue. It was a daycare center, and we rented it out, and we brought our PA in, and those bands showed up, and it would floored me. And Gilmore set his drums up facing the back wall. So it was pretty mind blowing. But I had friends that were really into a lot of punk. I more or less just was a punk, really. I was just, drunk and angry and somewhat psychotic. So that I was that's my punk roots, just being a punk.
Right on.
Drunk and disorderly. That's all.
It's a good name for a band. I'm sure there already is one.
Yeah.
And of course, I can't any discussion of Seattle with any Seattle legend. You have to talk about Tina Bell and Bam Bam because I know so many people saw them. They really never broke through internationally. Surely, I think they were an underground band in general, possibly by design. But Tina was incredible, and there's obvious roots along all those Skin Yard, Mudhoney, Screaming Trees, Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. They all borrowed from Bam Bam in little ways. I think just like it. How could you not? They were,
Seminal.
scene
Yeah.
leaders.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think they did a reunion show. God, I don't know when that was. They talk about getting old. Geez. Yeah, I don't think it was that long ago. I heard something about it. But yeah, man, they laid some groundwork, you know, for sure.
Right on. Just segueing over to some further things. Obviously, people know you best from Pearl Jam, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Pleased to say you're my second Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Ozzy was first, so maybe he was a two-timer, but we'll just count him as one because he wasn't in Sabbath at the time. And obviously, I don't know if you were ambivalent about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before getting elected or how you felt since. Obviously, you got to play with the band. A lot of people, fell back in love with you, maybe, or were reminded of your, tremendous contribution to 10. But I didn't know how you feel about it and who should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from Seattle that is not yet in.
Oh man, that's a great question. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And is the Aussie article, can I find that? I mean, the interview? I
It's
gotta look
somewhere.
at
I have the
it.
audio. I interviewed Ozzy before my current outlet existed for the God Bless Ozzy Osbourne documentary at the Tribeca Film Festival. And the only two metal journalists there were myself, or music journalists actually, was myself and Jose Mangin of Liquid, Sirius XM Liquid Metal, right?
Oh,
And he's
wow.
still around doing the thing. And
Yeah.
Sharon had called him, like, can you come to New York tomorrow? He flew on the red eye and he was like, dude, like you're the other metalhead here. I was like, yes, I am. And Ozzy was
Awesome.
great, and he picked on me because I dressed up. I wore like a jeans and a sport coat and an untucked shirt. A definite profiler type vibe for me, not a hoodie and a metal shirt. He's like, why are you dressed like that? It's ridiculous. I was like, you dress up to meet royalty, man. Like, we don't have podcasts back then. We just now I can be in my pajamas and my,
Yeah.
air guitar hat and no one cares. But like back then, I was like, you're meeting Ozzy and maybe the directors, and I met Jack and I saw Sharon for a hot second, and I was like, I better look
Oh,
nice. I better be presentable.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
No.
but yeah, man, I just didn't know, if it was something you had been thinking about. I think Pearl Jam was the very first real legendary Seattle band to get in, even before Nirvana. And obviously, some of that is, I don't know what the voting people are like now versus 10, 15 years ago, but I just wanted to know, how you felt about getting in
Oh,
and
yeah, I was floored for sure. Absolutely. I could not believe it. Super excited. It was a trip to read that. Somebody sent me an article, or a clip. I can't remember, or a post. I think it was Rolling Stone had a little article about it. And yeah, that was mind blowing. I was extremely honored. Actually, I think Nirvana was a year before. I think so. They got in
that's
there.
right.
Um,
That's right.
but yeah, it was a massive honor. And I was talking to the band when we were rehearsing. We just ran the song down, um, probably twice, you know. I came up, I was living in LA, came up here and went to their space. We ran it down once. I think they had a couple days for us to practice, but we just played it a couple of times. And we played State 11 Trust once. That was fun. But yeah, I've said this probably many times, but they're just such an easy band to play with in the sense that it's like you can just kind of, you know, ride that wave. They make such a sound. So it's really easy to play to. So yeah, it was a massive thrill for sure. Um, and bands that haven't gotten in from Seattle, uh, Mudhoney for sure, I think should be in there. Super influential. Alice in Chains is incredibly influential, and both those bands have they haven't there's not a bad one in the bunch. You know what I mean? Like those that's two bands I could think of that I love that don't have a bad song. That just every song is amazing. Man, jeez, there's a ton. That's just two off the top of my head. I could get really um way in there because then it's like, well, yeah, but then what about that band? And but that's two I would say off top of my head, right out of, you know, right out the gate, they should be in there.
Right on. I'd love to
Maybe over the
see,
top.
if not the trees, Lanigan get in as an
Yeah,
influence because I
yeah,
feel like so many people have followed him personally, his vocal style and everything, his solo career and other stuff that
legend.
he did. I'd love to see him get in. I think it would be
Me
nice.
too.
A nice memory. Yeah, Don, did you have another question?
Yeah, I guess. Well, of course, I'm gonna have to throw Mother Love Bone in the hat there, just because I'm a total
Oh
stalker fan.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
total stalker fan of Mother Love Bone. Like they were one of those bands. Like, see, like Keefy and I, we talk about this. Like, we're major dorks. Like when you loved a band, especially when we were in high school, like you wanted the bootlegs, you wanted all the previous bands material, you wanted the
Mhm.
future stuff that didn't come, that hadn't been made yet. It's like I want that. And
Yeah,
one of the things I also noticed as I gotten older was I was a huge War Babies fan. Like I still am. Like I love the War Babies
yeah,
so much.
yeah.
That debut album to me to this day, and I was, which is funny because I was not into TKO, but I love Brad's vocals. And one of the things I also remembered was that oh God, Jeff was in that band for a while. And I noticed that that was a kind of a trend too, is that members seemed to kind of hop around, even if it wasn't like a permanent placement, but everyone seems to kind of help each other out, hop around. And was there any acts that you didn't participate with that you're like, I wish I could have jumped in there and had a little, made my mark in there?
Well, Mudhoney comes to mind for sure. Mother Love Bone, absolutely. I was a huge fan too. That I just thought those grooves are so sick, those Stones riffs, you know what I mean? Like they just freaking, I mean, yeah, that stuff's so deep. So both those bands for sure. Got a lot. Screaming Trees would have been those songs. That's another band that's like, man, they don't that there were not one that wasn't great, I thought, really. Seriously.
Barrett's
Eastern
incredible.
Washington, Eastern Washington band too. Like
Yep.
they came over the mountains, you know what I mean? It's like,
Like Conquering Heroes, Ellensburg, I think,
yeah,
right? That's where Lanigan's from.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and
totally.
Fighting Always. Barrett's book again is tremendous. His book from a
Really?
couple years ago, yeah, really good. They were constantly fighting.
Really? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I don't even know how they functioned, like, but there was
Oh my
some
God.
crazy comic moments in the book, and
Oh,
it's
I gotta
only
check that out.
hearing his secondhand, his firsthand account of secondhand people. So I don't know, but yeah, that's tremendous, man. I love hearing about that, and I think people don't realize that you've worked this whole time. Tremendous run in Candlebox on some of my favorite records there. Happy Pills and things, and a bunch of other stuff. What else have you been? What do you got going on beside this great King Ultramega single you're on? What else is happening?
Well, right now we just we're recording. We got a band called the Vases. Ty Willman they had a great band. Inspector Love and the Ride Me Babies. And they were happening way back in the day. And then they had a band called Green Apple Quick Step, which then they got signed and made records and did the whole thing. And they were a great band. So Steve, the guitar player from that band, and Ty Willman, me and Ty go way back and have had a few bands. So we've got a band right now called the Vases, and we were just in Litho, which is Stone Studio in Fremont, Seattle. Amazing studio. And we just got done with, they're not completed, but we just did 6 songs. So those will get completed here pretty soon, and then we'll put those out. And then I got a band I'm playing in called Bowie Birds, based in LA. Noah Levin's on. He's a mastermind behind all that stuff, and amazing talent. So yeah, those 2 things are pretty much what I'm working on right now. And then I've been up here for a couple years. I'm heading back to LA pretty soon, I think in the spring. And I got a lot of friends down there. Just I lived there 20 years and did a ton of projects. So I'm looking forward to getting back and really kind of getting busy again.
Right on. If you got anything you want us to link in the description of this podcast and for
Yeah.
other things, just send it through to me via
Okay, great. Yeah,
tour,
that's
and we
awesome.
will take care of it. But yeah,
Yeah,
just really wonderful talking to you. I don't know if Don, you had a final
likewise.
thought or question, but Dave, you've been wonderful. Don, do you have
Thank
anything
you.
else to add or ask?
Oh yeah, I just want to say this was a real treat, because I mean,
Thanks, man.
Keefy and I get to talk to a lot of people, and sometimes you got to dial your fanboyish in, and like you're incredible, and I loved hearing your stories, loved getting to know what's going on, especially with and just everything. And so I want to check out these other bands that you're doing. Sounds like some
Thank you.
great projects.
Thank you. And thanks for mentioning things I had done. Jeff mentioned to me, I was going to say when we were rehearsing, he said that the Rock Hall wanted me in there because I kept busy. I kept working and played in some interesting projects, and that I kept at it was a big reason that they wanted me in there. So that was really nice to hear. It felt like, well, it wasn't all for naught. You know what I mean? Just because, I mean, they're on such a level, that band. And I've done various, all kinds of, you know, varying degrees of things. So yeah, so I appreciate you guys saying that. And yeah, I've made a lot of records with Candlebox. Unified Theory was a band people could check out. We did some stuff. These guys from Blind Melon, and that was a great project. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of stuff, but yeah, it's so I appreciate that. And
I
I'll
do
send
want to
you.
check. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say I'll send you some info about the new bands that I got going too. I'm excited about those.
I saw Unified Theory at a tiny little club in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was at the what was it called? It's not even there anymore. It was like a really weird venue where like the venue's long and the stage is set in the middle. So it's like if you don't get there, you're standing on. Oh, do you know what I'm talking?
Was that the Tremont Music Hall, Don?
Tremont Music
I was
Hall. That's what
there,
it was.
believe it or
No.
not. I have not that
Wow.
show, but I have been to that club, and it's
Yeah.
out of business now.
Oh,
But it was unfit for a concert venue in a
It
lot
was
of.
so bad. But you guys were, and I was always a Chris Shin fan. Like
yeah.
I always
Oh,
thought
Chris
he
is
was
so
just
great. Yeah. He's
so
from Lake Guy.
fantastic.
That's where he's from.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
back there now.
So I mean, I know this is probably off kilter here, but like that's something I would love to see happen again. Like I would love to see something, some music from that because I mean, it's fantastic material.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll happen. Well, I almost went on tour with them, but I had I can't remember what I got. Well, I got a tear in my shoulder. I ended up getting cortisone shot that helped a lot, but it was like right at the time when it was like torn and felt torn. It was bad. And so it's like I could play, but it's like, it's I don't think I can hack a tour right now, which I was bummed. I wanted to play with those guys. And yeah, maybe we will. We did one little one-off, geez, 2009, long time ago, but it was great. Sounded great. Band has always been good live. So yeah, maybe we'll put that in their ear, and maybe when I get back down to LA, we can kind of
We'll put it in the
control
ether. Don and I need to hit the lotto and make some of these things happen in reality. But
that.
Dave, man, just absolutely wonderful meeting you and sharing all this stuff with you and by you. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. I will talk to you again soon, and I
Sounds
promise you
good.
it'll be a slightly different vibe and flavor. But like Don, thank you, and Dave, thank you, and shout out to
Definitely.
King Ultramega and Rip Chris Cornell forever. And I'm just
Amen.
rooting for you for all the wonderful and great things you're putting out into the world from behind the drum kit, my friend.
Thanks. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks so much for your time, man. And yeah, look forward to doing it again sometime.
Yeah, my pleasure. Love to.
Right on.
I'm good.
Sorry, that was Dave Krusin. Wow, what a phenomenal guest. And you know, King Ultramega rules. We'll get more from them in the by and by. And just what a tremendous chat. And I learned a lot, and I learned a lot from Don about Seattle, and he dug. It seemed like he dug it also, and appreciated us, which was very nice. I usually don't get that, as Don and I were just talking about off air about like, yeah, most of the interviews are great, and then once in a while they're not great. You know,
This was a great one. That was a great one. I really enjoyed Dave. Yeah, he was really cool. And I loved the insight that he had on the, on the scene and stuff. It was just really cool to kind of, it was also kind of, I don't know about you, but it was also kind of cool to get some like verification. You know what I mean? Like, like you hear things, like you see things, and you're like, basically from the, from the worm's mouth. It's like
he's
really
much more
than
he is much more of an artist than Pearl Jam 10, but yes, he's the drummer on Pearl Jam 10, and he was phenomenal. And he, again, I often harp on this as a bassist, having played with drummers my whole life.
Jesus
that my whole, last whatever that I played bass, a lot of drummers can play fast or they can play hard. They can't play fast and hard. And he was a guy in the rock idiom that played hard and fast and accurate, which is hard to do. And then, like I alluded to with him, like, as you get older and, age and other things, and you learn nuances, he's in tremendous company, not just in the Hall of Fame as a drummer, but also like what he put down with other bands, as you mentioned and I mentioned. So really wonderful to hear, his perspective on a lot of things. And really, he seemed very humble also, like not conceited in any way, but like very humble and humbled to be part of King Ultramega, which is, again, super nice because we love Cornell and Soundgarden here. And I hope we will do a Soundgarden series at some point in the future.
I think we should. I think that's on, I'd even be down doing them, even though they had like an EP and an album. I could totally see doing a Mother Love Bone thing, just kind of.
Yeah, I would do Mother Love Bone. I think it's worth talking. It's worth talking about them. And it'd be a nice short series, and then we can have it'd be,
but again,
nice
it was
variety.
But again, it was great to hear him talking about this stuff, firsthand, and it was really, I can't praise the guy enough. He was fantastic.
Wonderful. We hope for more in the future like that. Don, you have any other final thoughts before we take it on home?
No, I guess my only other final thought is that for two guys of our generation who, that had a whole new, that was a life-changing experience for us when we were younger to hear these bands coming out, and like it kind of made me realize that this is probably what my parents must have felt like when the British invasion happened, when all of a sudden it's not Perry Como and it's not, and it's not Bing Crosby. All of a sudden it's like, holy shit, it's the Beatles and the Stones. And like, I felt like that was what it was, and like I said, just to get to talk to him firsthand for someone who was there. Obviously, his work on 10 is monumental. And I do want to just chime in with this real quick because you and I talked about this, or I said in the interview, is that I remember I was in a punk metal band, and our drummer came in with a copy of 10, and he was like, I'm doing this all fucking wrong, man. I'm doing this all wrong. And he put on Why Go. And I just remember hearing that and going, that is so fucking heavy. But like, why aren't we doing this? What I mean? It was amazing. But yeah, kudos to him and his extensive work outside of Pearl Jam. Definitely a Renaissance person. And thank you, Keefy, for wrangling that in and making it happen. And that was,
thank you.
I'm honored to have been a part of it.
Thank Curtis Dewar of C Squared Marketing and Reigning Phoenix Music for putting out King Ultramega. So like, yes, I thought fast on my feet to land this. There will be a Ghost Cult interview also with Dave, which I will make different for him. But I'm glad we got to do this kind of vast overview, and then I can do kind of a narrow focus on my stuff. But like, super cool. Thank you, bro. And all of you have been listening to and hopefully watching the Glacially Musical Podcast, a Ghost Cult joint. We are missing our fearless leader, Nick Boom Boom Cameron. Get well soon, Boom Boom. We'll get back to Deicide next week, led by Nick. I promise you the albums do not get better, so I'm deeply sorry, Don. And I'm deeply sorry to me, but they don't get better. Legion is kind of the peak for that era, and then it kind of me. But anyway, I'm Keefy of ghostcultmag.com.
And I'm Don. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was one
No,
of
you're
those
good.
things where you're splitting. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and I'm the Raging Cajun Don Delamont from
Nice.
southeastofheaven.com.
That's it. And Talking the Talk with Don.
And Talking the Talk
You
with
can
Don.
follow all our stuff in the description. You can buy some shirts from Don from his shop and support his weed gummy needs, and also invest in vinyl mylars and other things in our soon to be reinvigorated link tree for the podcast. This has been the Glacially Musical Podcast or Podcast. It doesn't play in Peoria, but Dave has surely played in Peoria at least once or twice in his career, because he did like 5 straight years in Candlebox, where they went on many extensive tours behind the very successful album Happy Pills, which I'm a huge fan of. And I guess that's it. Bye.